Having a fabulous Friday. All right, a little late today, but I had just so many things that I wanted to finish off that I thought, hey, I still got to do this live for you guys because I had some great questions yesterday, and it was about working with the subject matter expert. And tons of people have this question, and I thought I got to get on this because I think we have some sort of myths we need to bust because there's a reason this comes up, and some of these myths might be myths that you believe, and maybe this will help you deal better, work better with your number one buddy, the subject matter expert. Now, I'm going to turn on, I don't know this feature, when you post your comments, I can't actually see them live or reply to them live because, I'm actually doing stuff, so it'd be kind of weird if I was replying because then you'd be like, hey, that's not Anna. But I do go back and check on your comments afterwards. Of course, some of these are hidden, like you can't see them right away. So if I have missed yours, please repost it, post it more than once, or just message me directly. I will answer your questions if I can, of course. I will keep within my circle of competence. So I have worked with all kinds of subject matter experts, cooperative, uncooperative, and every time I have one of those interactions, I really think about, how could have I made this experience better? Because one of the things that I learned early on is that you have to take extreme ownership of the final product, and a lot of times the relationship that you have and the kinds of interactions you have with your subject matter expert have a huge impact on not just the project, but how you feel about it, how much you look forward to working on it, and also how it's received in the company, right? Because usually the subject matter expert is somebody who is respected, who has done a great job, and you want them on your side. So these are all very important things to consider. So first, what I wanted to do is maybe bust some myths that are out there, and some of these things I used to believe, and some of these things I've come across as other people talk to me about, because I put out a lot of videos about how to work with a subject matter expert, and the distinction between that person and maybe somebody who's a practitioner, how those two things are actually different. So first, let's just go back to the magic board and talk about some of these myths. In the meantime, I will go through your comments. Do make a comment about whether you've had good or bad experiences, maybe some conundrums, maybe some common problems that you face, or maybe your own tips as I'm going through this on how you're dealing with, let's say, difficult situations. Because I don't necessarily think that it's always them, sometimes it's us. I gotta say it. Oh, is that gonna hurt our feelings? Who cares? Doesn't matter. Just we're here to get better, right? All right. First, let's talk about these. Okay. So this is cool because yesterday when I did the live, I talked about my interview process, where I talked about the distinction between the person who you interview for your stories to draft a scenario, and the person who kind of who helps you set the tone and the focus around your stories. So you think about who's that going to be, and what kind of contribution are they going to make? And one of the comments that came up is, I just want to let you know, Anna, that if you, like, somebody came in late to the live, which is fine because it's not like it's a show or something. But one of the things that they said is, it's important that person is a good storyteller, your subject matter expert or your practitioner. And I replied, and I was like, actually, yeah, at first I was like, yeah, but I'm like, no, actually they don't have to be a good storyteller. That's the thing. Most of us are not trained in this, right? And the only thing we're expecting really from the people that we're working with is that they're really good at what they do, so that we can come in with our magic learning frameworks and pull it out of their brains, get the deep smarts out, put it in a way that somebody else can understand it and it's useful to them. And that's what we do. So stories are something that we own. And so when we're talking to these people, they don't have to be good at storytelling. I'm going to use red. Is that okay? No, they don't. You just have to get better at asking questions that draw out story elements from them, because you're combining all these things into an interactive story. But they don't have to tell you a good story. They just have to tell you good situations or good pieces, and then you have to be good at drawing out emotions from them. And that's one of the things that I said, that's why you need 3 or more people, or 3 people is usually good, because some people aren't good at sharing emotions. That doesn't mean they have to be good at sharing stories. So your SME does not, or a practitioner does not have to be a good storyteller at all, because they could just be full of anecdotes, and that's good enough. That's fine. So that's one myth that we need to bust. We're owning the story. We're owning that process. It's like saying, Zuckerberg had to be good for Aaron Sorkin to do the Facebook movie, had to be good at storytelling. No, it's Aaron Sorkin that has to be good at the storytelling. And maybe when they're interviewing people who were around the Facebook origin story, they just had to have good details and share some emotions about why they did the things they did. That's it. It's up to Aaron Sorkin to be the story crafts person, right? Craft it in a way that actually engages us, because I'm sure it wasn't as exciting as the way they did it, right? I'm sure it wasn't a really good 3-act story, blah, blah, blah. So that's you. You're Aaron Sorkin. So you imagine if that movie sucked and Aaron said, oh yeah, but Zuckerberg wasn't a good storyteller. Pfft, no, right? You're Aaron Sorkin. The SME is not the storyteller. You are. You're directing the story. Here's another one. This one comes up a lot. And I get this. I used to believe this, that the SME, subject matter expert, is our customer. No, they're not. So what happened is, I think this was way back when I was doing some sort of like training, when I was still a trainer, and we were doing this kind of thing like, hey, it's not just our customers that are our customers, our peers are also our customers. So treat them with the same respect. And I get that, because that's true, like those interactions matter. But some people took it like way too literally, and then they take the adage that the customer is always right adage. They also take that way too seriously. And then what happens is they actually just, whatever this person who is not in charge of learning, who has not studied learning, who has not designed learning the way we have and immersed in it the way we have, we're saying, we're at your service. Whatever you decide, whatever comes out of your imagination, you're the customer. You're always right. No, that's wrong. No. They're not our customers. The business is our customer. That's who our customer is. They are employed. The subject matter expert is employed by the business. And the business is there to get results. We're there to help the business get results. And so are they. So they're not our customer. They're not always right. And this is not how it works. We're a peer, we're a trusted advisor, and we are collaborating with them to create something. So when we say things like, oh, they didn't know what they wanted, so we kind of went along with this, and this is the result. No, you own that. You own that. So own that process, own that collaboration, and say, let's produce something awesome. Is there going to be difficult people? Hell yeah. Okay, I've worked with those people. And what's wonderful is that now as an independent consultant, I get to choose. I have my perfect avatar for who I want to work with. You're not going to jive with everybody. I've been in situations where, you had to work with an expert because I was employed by a company who was just providing the experts, and I had to work with whoever was assigned on that project. And that's fine. But when you get to choose, you get to realize that a lot of times not everybody's going to mesh with you and with your personality. Now, there's the other side of the coin, is that if you're always having trouble working with subject matter experts, if there's a common denominator and it is you, maybe it's time to self-assess and be like, whoa, something's going on here. Maybe it's me. Or maybe I'm just always going for the projects that where there's a certain kind of criteria, but I'm like, something in the back of my mind's telling me this person's gonna be kind of a pain in the butt to work with, and I'm still going for it because I'm ignoring all those warning signs, right? So you get, it's an analysis process. Figure it out, right? You wouldn't have, if you're there's people standing in front of you and everybody's like, who do you want to hang out with for your weekend? You're not going to say everybody, right? You're going to say these people who do this, people who value these things, people who work like this, people who For me, it's like people who have a thirst for knowledge. They're willing to try new things. They have a positive attitude. They're cool about smiling. They like hugs. All those, you can be that specific. So think about that. Okay. Now, this is another one. Actually, I'm going to start here. People think that subject matter experts can write great learning outcomes. Are you guys kidding me? Somebody's like, yeah, the subject matter expert came out with the learning outcomes. I was like, really? There's some instructional designers, classically trained, who come up with terrible learning outcomes and you know what it's all about. So you're expecting somebody who's like an expert in like engineering to come up with learning outcomes? Come on, guys, come on. This is so much pressure. So much pressure on that person. We're gonna take the pressure off. Be like, hey, I'm gonna help you with this. All you gotta do is provide your deep smarts and I'll do the learning part. Because that's kind of lazy, just handing off going, okay, what do you think they are? Okay, here's a sheet, here's a tip sheet. I can't believe people do that. No. It's a collaborative process. This should be a collaborative process. You should be guiding this. Writing learning content or job aids. No, that's a specialized skill. Even instructional designers suck at this. How can you expect a subject matter expert to write learning content? I mean learning content. I don't mean content. I mean learning content, because there's a difference. You with me? Tell me that you believe there's a difference between just straight up content and stuff that's actually supposed to teach people something or help people find something. There's different kinds, right? You want to look up something that's actually really going to be useful for you as far as deciding how content's supposed to be shaped. Check out 5 Moments of Learning Need by Conrad Gottfriedson and Bob Mosher. Fabulous. Just Google it. It's fabulous. But most SMEs, I talk to people who design learning and they don't know about that stuff. Most SMEs would not, because they're experts in their domain. Don't push that stuff on them. They don't need to know it. Just help them, but don't offload it. You want that product to be, finally awesome. You got to own that. So no. This collaborative process too. You don't just take straight up and then complain oh, they wrote this stuff and it's so hard to read. Well, they don't write learning stuff. You do. So it's a lot of pressure. Same with scenarios. People don't think in scenarios. People think, what should I do? And that's what I should do next. How to solve this problem? That's what I'll do. They don't think, what are the 3 other ways I would mess this up? Okay, what would happen if I did that? No, they've already learned how to do it. So they're not going to think of ways to mess it up or bad consequences or bad options. They won't even know. Also, subject matter experts are not practitioners. Therefore, for them to come up with alternate ways to mess up a situation, it's going to be inauthentic. So don't make them write the scenarios for you. It's best to talk to a practitioner, interview them in the right way, and then you do it. That is what I stand by. All right, so a great strategy to use with subject matter experts, and what I think that they're fabulous at is really they have intel on the business. You need intel on the business. Many of them have intel on the business. Some don't. Some are very much focused on their domain, their area. But one of the things you can do with a subject matter expert is to really figure out the root cause of the things that are happening. Because a lot of times they'll come to you and they're like, I was tasked with the training and this area is kind of not doing so good. So can we do something, right? And your job is to really pounce on that person, be like, okay, cool. All right, I got you. You're an expert. Okay, let's figure out why the heck this is happening in the first place. What's the root cause? Because if you can figure out the root cause, and the root cause is usually a process that's failing or that's missing, or it's a behavior, and usually a behavior is supported by a process, right? So you want to figure out to the roots, because a lot of people don't do this. And the best way to do this is using the 5 whys method. 5. I didn't come up with this. It was a Japanese dude who I believe was a Toyota inventor or inventor. He invented the Toyota. No, he was one of the guys that ran it. if not the guy that ran it. And it's part of like the Kaizen system, which is so cool. Basically, the Kaizen system is where everybody who's working kind of finds ways to optimize their workplace, and then that suggestion is built into the system so that everybody's working more efficiently. It's super cool. You want to look that up? Look up Kaizen on YouTube and those old Japanese videos. So cool. Anyways, we digress. And it's Friday. You guys are probably all drinking margaritas, you know, having cigars on the patio. No, don't do those things. They're bad for you. Bad for you. All right. So let me get 5 whys. So here's how the 5 whys process works. I'm going to walk you through it. And it's funny because I think I did an exclusive video just on a 5 whys method. And somebody said, like, a big comment, they were like, Anna, I stopped at 3. I stopped at 3. And it's funny because I think that when the very beginning, when we're using the 5 whys method, if we're in on it, like if somebody else is in on our 5 whys, like I did this interview with subject matter experts and my colleague was in on the 5 whys, but I don't think she'd ever kind of used it before. So I would use it on the subject matter expert, and by the 4th why, I could see her getting uncomfortable. She was like she was looking at the subject matter expert as if they were about to like flip the table on me, being like, how many whys you gonna ask? But they didn't. It was interesting because what I did after every time they told me the why, I would rephrase it. I'd be like, okay, so what you said is this, and they're like, or clarified, and I would say, okay, why is that happening? And people don't. The thing is with questions, people love thinking about them and asking them, and if they're provocative enough and if they care about the process enough, they'll be in it. They'll be like, well, they don't mind thinking about it. In fact, a lot of them said that was a really good process. Some things are difficult, especially if you're trying to solve a sensitive issue. It's good to have somebody who's from the outside, like I was, because I had no attachment to it. And a lot of times the whys bring up blame, or these guys didn't do their job. And you just like, okay, why did the process fail, right? So you can actually, and I suggest you check out, actually the Wikipedia page has a fabulous 5 whys process and a really solid example there. So I'm not going to get into it for you because you can figure it out. But push, ask, until why until you get to the root cause. And sometimes it's interesting because I've been there before where I've ran these large sessions where we're talking about whys, and somebody will be like, yeah, it's because we ran out of time. We didn't have enough time. And then you're like, okay, so you can't actually fix time, but you could say, okay, why did the process fail? Why did you run out of time? Right? And a lot of times it's because we don't make it a priority because everything else is more important. Okay, so, so then you can say, well, why? Why is this not a priority? So there's ways to get around it. So check that out. This is a super tool. And it's fabulous because it really helps you get to the root cause of things. And I find a lot of times where I've failed personally is that I took the person who was coming to me with their training request or their request to improve things. They hadn't done the analysis deep enough because they're in it. They're able to rationalize why this is needed, right? And so if I believe them, or I thought that they would do their due diligence, it's not a matter of really belief. It's just a matter of saying, I just want to do my checklist of making sure that we're on the right path. Because in the end, this thing you're going to put out is going to have, it's going to take your time. It's going to take your effort. It's going to take their time, their effort. And you want to make sure it has impact. And if you don't do your due diligence, you're messing everybody up, including yourself. You're wasting time. So you don't want to waste time. And you want to have impact. You don't want to waste even the learner's time. Like, have you ever put out stuff and you're like, oh man, that's not what they needed. They didn't need that. They already do that. They know how to not bully. We need to talk about something like protocols, like how come things are allowed to get out of hand for so long. So it's, you know what I mean? So you gotta get to the root. And when you get to the root, you're able to be more objective about what the real problem you're solving is. And then you realize, do we actually need this or not? And if we do, I know exactly who I need to talk to fix it. And then we can create something awesome. So the other thing is, take that 5 whys question. If you're consistently having problems working with the subject matter expert, apply the 5 whys method to that interaction with yourself. And you might need to have somebody talk to you through it, right? Saying, I'm always having problems working with a subject matter expert, or all my subject matter experts are difficult, or all my subject matter experts ask for too much, or all my subject matter experts always want to include way too much info. Well, why? Start going through that process. It's not that you're always being a doormat. It's not that you're always saying yes, but sometimes it might be expectations. Sometimes it's the way the project is pre-sold before you even get in there and you're like, hey, this isn't actually what I signed up for. So can we just roll it back a bit and be like, here it is. So maybe you got to do a little bit of that pre-front upsell stuff at the beginning to shape it the right way so that everything that cascades after is way more true to what you can actually do and accomplish and what makes you happy, because you need to show up happy and excited about your project and want to work on it, because it'll manifest in your work, right? It'll be awesomer. That's right, I said that. For my UK friends, that's how we say brilliant. All right. Hope you have a wonderful weekend, and I will talk to you soon. Thanks so much, friends. Ciao.